You're listening to Siris Says podcast. Join us as we transcend cultural barriers and elevate diverse voices. Here, we inspire, inform, and empower one story at a time. Let's dive in. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Siris Says. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Lorin Lindner. She is the founder of Lockwood Animal Rescue Center. And I'm so privileged to have the opportunity to interview you. So thank you. I appreciate you.
My privilege.
How
Thank
are you
you.
feeling today?
Doing great today.
Great.
Every day. Got to make every day a good day.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So what got you interested in founding this? Because it's a lot of work.
You've just been around and seen some of the animals, and
Yes.
you see the extent of the work that we do here. And I'm very grateful to have a wonderful, wonderful staff. And you got to meet
Yes.
someone from our staff, and that's what helps make this a great team. It's all about teamwork.
That's awesome. I saw a lot of wolf and more foxes. You have a lot of dogs. And when you first started, did you start it in LA, in Los Angeles?
I did, yeah. I started with parrots.
Okay.
And it was the first ever parrot or animal sanctuary on the grounds of a veterans hospital in West Los Angeles. It took me 6 years to get all the proper permissions from the Veterans Administration to open the place. And we did that, and it was quite successful, where I was able to get the veterans to come down and work with the parrots. They were like talking therapists, you know. So the parrots were actually the therapists to the veterans, because they were very loving, they're very affectionate. The problem is they live a long time and they can be quite noisy, so people relinquish them very, very frequently. Most parrots have anywhere from 10 to 20 homes in their lifetimes, and that's a lot for an animal that bonds and actually imprints and mates for life. So there you are, separating them from their loved ones and moving them from one place to another many, many times throughout their lifetimes, their long lifetimes. So it's really kind of a tragic situation with captive parrots. And I built a big sanctuary so that the birds that we did rescue were able to fly, at least have some natural behaviors, flight, flocking together, and foraging. It's really important for parrots to have all three of those things.
Interesting. I didn't know it was that complex. That's really interesting. And so a lot of the vets that you had them interact with these animals, they live a long life, did they enjoy? What were the things that you saw them? Did they improve their quality of life and what so not? Because I think I saw they work with PTSD, help with that. So
yes. So we were on the grounds of a veterans hospital.
Yeah.
So of course we had a full range of conditions that the veterans had, some medical.
Yeah.
But most of the people who came down, most of the veterans, male and female veterans who came down to help volunteer with the parrots, were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and or traumatic brain injuries, which often happen from intermittent explosive devices that they would encounter during combat. So it's again, another tragic situation, and we're there trying to help whatever we can do, right? Everyone has to do something to make this a better world. So that's what I did. I had the parrots, the veterans would come, they would be sitting, all cross-armed in their group therapy, not wanting to open up. Why open up to some woman 1 hour a week? They're not going to divulge their pain to me. But when they would come down to be with the parrots, then it became, hello, baby. Hello, pretty girl. Hello, pretty boy.
Bond.
And you'd see these emotions coming out from guys that weren't able to express that for a very long time. So that generalized over to their families, their loved ones, so that they can reunite with them. Because a lot of times post-traumatic stress disorder keeps you from having deep, close, trusting relationships, because trust is hard to come by after you've had a trauma, right?
Interesting. I love that. Did you ever have cases of kids coming along or no? Just
Well,
adults?
at the Veterans Hospital, it was just adults,
Yeah.
veterans who came from combat, or even those who didn't serve in combat. They still benefited from being with the parrots, and also the camaraderie of working with other veterans. That's always a good thing for veterans. But then when I moved up here to the Fraser Park area,
Okay.
I worked at a clinic in town
Okay.
that catered to children.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I worked a lot with children then, and that was a completely different experience, wonderful experience. And I continued to do that as a supervisor, supervising other staff, other clinical staff in
Yeah.
the care of children and adolescents. And I
So
enjoy that.
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. How did you transition into bigger animals, which now you take care of wolf and other bigger creatures? Because a parrot is manageable to some extent, but now you're moving into a different territory. So I wonder, how did you, transition into that?
Yeah, good question and interesting transition for my life for sure.
Mm.
But interestingly enough, I have to say that the staff here are wonderful veterans that work here. They will always say that parrots scare them more than any of the other animals. A parrot bite can be quite painful, but also the parrots are much more unpredictable. The wolves and the other animals are canids, related to canines like our dogs, and they usually are more standoffish, and you could tell if they're getting annoyed or not happy with you. They might snarl, but for the most part they will just move away from you. They are much more comfortable with lack of contact, moving out of your sphere. But the parrots, you could be petting a parrot and all of a sudden you stop petting for a minute and it's like, chomp. No, don't stop petting me. So they are wild creatures too, and I think people don't realize that of the tens of millions of exotic animals that are pets in this country, the majority of them are parrots. And people don't realize that those are wild animals that really shouldn't be kept in cages. No wild or exotic animal should be in a cage.
That's true. Yeah. And I do see you have such an amazing setup here. I did also hear a little bit earlier you're talking about that you do rotate the animals, and that gives them a sense of like freedom in a way, but also
Mm-hmm.
more different variety of environment, which
Right.
is great.
It's very important when you do have captive animals. And, I don't believe in keeping animals captive, but
Yeah.
once they are, I try to give them the biggest habitats possible and as natural as possible. So they have built in dens or waterfalls and always places for them to bathe. So the transition from the parrots to the wolves was just serendipitous. I've always loved wolves. When I was in college, my first year in a biology class, and it was field biology class, and the professor brought in a wolf with a handler and allowed the wolf to walk around so that all the students can pet them. And I realized now that that was what we call an ambassador wolf, so that you get to know these animals and see, they're not the big bad wolf that we always talk about in mythology. And with the grazing of cattle on public lands, we have really decimated the wolf populations because we don't want wolves eating our hamburgers. So we kill off the wolves, and it's really another tragic situation in our country. And we even have a T-shirt Lockwood Animal Rescue Center does that says, I stand with the big bad wolf, because they're not bad. It's just all part of mythology. There is no wolves killing people. It just doesn't happen. We talk about it, it's rarer than ever getting hit by lightning or anything like that, or certainly dog bites. That much more common. So wolves are not attacking people, and there's a lot of mythology around wanting to make wolves look like the big bad wolf. And we want to try to dispel that as much as we can, because as you saw here, these wolves are very loving, very family oriented, very pack oriented, and very affectionate, and they only kill to eat. So, and humans are not on the menu.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they have a lot of similarities to dogs, it seems like. And I saw your dogs interacting with them, although, obviously some of they're engaged, but I saw them interacting a lot, and you can tell like they do share a lot of similarities.
They
So,
do.
yeah.
They really do. I mean, so many, and in fact, that they share the majority of their genetics with dogs, with wolves, and so forth. And dogs came from wolves. But also along the lines of what you were saying, that our dogs roam here and they provide a source of enrichment for the wolves, because the wolves, check them out, or they might even run against the fence line with each other. So we do have a little bit of that enrichment. And it's very important to do the rotations into new enclosures, something novel, so that they don't get bored. Even though we do have large enclosures, it's not the same as the wild, right? So we try to do as much enrichment as possible.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, because you deal with, humans, psychology and then pet psychology, are they similar in the recuperation process of trauma? Is it
Oh,
similar? Because I've never even thought about it, but now that I'm talking to you, I want to.
Today's episode is sponsored by RenovateMagicHub.com, your guide to transforming your home. Whether you're updating a room or planning a full makeover, Renovate Magic Hub provides tailored product suggestions to suit your style and budget. Visit RenovateMagicHub.com for inspiring and practical tips to create a space you'll love.
that's the question, right? That's the $64,000 question. They are extremely similar, and that's why our program is unique. Yes, we are a wolf sanctuary, an animal wildlife sanctuary, but the fact is that all vertebrates share a common stress response, from the pituitary to the hypothalamus to our adrenals. We all share that flight, fight, faint, and freeze. And there's a few other F's in there as well. But we all share that autonomic nervous system response, the sympathetic nervous system, which pushes us to flee or fight or otherwise, right? So very similar responses, and therefore it has the same alteration to our physiology when we have these kinds of stress hormones released into our bodies. So all vertebrates react in the same way as far as that goes. And the trauma affects us all in the same ways. And why our program is unique in terms of sanctuary life is that both the animals and the veterans are suffering from traumatic stress, whether it be post-traumatic stress or complex trauma. Both species suffer from that. So they both heal together in this unique way of actually healing each other. Because you can walk up to an animal that hasn't had a lot of trauma and they're much more receptive, including humans. You can have a relationship with a human who hasn't had that much exposure to trauma, although no one escapes unscathed, right? But those who have less trauma are more trusting, they're more able to form relationships that are sustainable. Trauma makes us a little less able to do that. So with both species having that, no one advances too quickly. No one says, oh, come on, I'm going to rush into this relationship. They both have to build trust for each other. And that takes time, and that helps the wolf and the veteran, the warrior, right? That helps both of them slow it down, take some breaths, right? Start moving more slowly, which is not always easy for veterans. They're always, on the go. So slowing it down, slowing the pace down, really reading each other's emotions, where you're at, what state you're in, and then gradually building up trust and confidence. And it all takes compassion and empathy. And that's something we can relearn, because we all get that. Well, I shouldn't say all, but almost all of us in childhood have compassion for animals, right? We all come. Some of us lose that along the way, but I think we're all born with that compassion, because we evolved with animals. We co-evolved with them. They're intrinsically part of our genetics. We're only 1% different from rodents, let alone primates. Primates were 0.2% different in our genetics. So
That's incredible.
there you are.
That's incredible. Thank you. That was awesome. I didn't even know that much, and that's great to know. So, talk a little bit more about the center. And do you have people coming and helping out? Is that something you guys do? How can people help you, right? Because you're out here, and I'm sure you guys need help from time to time. So
anybody who rescues animals needs help, because it's a 7-day-a-week, every single day job, and they have to eat. There's no missing a day for feeding our animals. So we always can use help. We are actually hiring now. We do hire veterans who meet certain criteria. They can go to our website and see the different application processes. And then we do rescue animals. We just did a huge rescue in Ohio. We rescued foxes from a fur farm. It was very, very tragic. I will say again, just so much tragedy and trauma in our world that we're exposed to. And at least doing one little thing makes a difference. So I invite you all to do one little thing, and that is, go to our website, see if you want to adopt one of the animals, if you want to support a veteran salary, because we pay our veterans. We don't let them continue to just be of service. They need to be paid.
Yeah.
So we hire veterans, we rescue animals. Both of them need our support. And do invite you to our website. We have merchandise for sale, and we welcome you. We are not open to the public, but we will send videos and photos of any animals that you adopt, virtually. And we welcome your support.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. And I do have to say that you have names for all of them, which was very unique. They'll have their own tag and their name. So it's like it adds personality to their animals.
Yeah,
That's
they're
great.
all very distinct. Each and every one of them have their own personalities. And I was just saying yesterday that, I know them all, I love them all, and I can tell whoever is howling, I know who's starting it, who's instigating the howling, I can tell who joins in next, and I recognize all of their very unique sounds and wonderful music that they make that is so important for our world. We are dependent on these species, and we're losing sight of that. We're losing sight of the intricate relationships we have with everything on Earth, and we're all important. No one is the crown of creation. We are all in this like a spider web together.
Yeah, we're interdependent on each other. I mean, just the ocean and how we see, how we interact, and the fires that happened recently out here, and everything just gets affected. So, yeah. Did you have some rescues from that fire, by the way?
We didn't have any rescues,
Okay.
but we helped
Okay.
people
You
who
helped.
had to evacuate, of course.
Okay. It
Just
was.
awful, and with their animals. So we did
Oh,
that,
okay.
and thankfully they're back home
Yeah.
now.
Oh, that's awesome. Would you mind sharing a little bit of the website where people can find you?
Sure,
Yeah,
I
your
love that.
Instagram handle so I can
Yes,
tag you. Yes,
yes,
please.
please. It's the way the world now. So it's the Lockwood Animal Rescue Center. So, and our website is www.lockwoodarc, stands for Animal Rescue Center, lockwoodarc.org. Lockwoodarc.org is the website, and Instagram is Lockwood Animal Rescue Center. So, and then it's, or Lockwood Wolves is Facebook, and Lockwood Animals, it's YouTube. I can't keep track of it all, but
I
if you
will
put
tag
Lockwood in there, you'll find us.
Well, I will go ahead and tag you guys in there. And I have one last question, Lindley, which you have been wonderful. Thank you so much. The last question is from the previous guest. I do this fun thing, and you leave a question for the next guest. So the last question left: how are you creative in your life?
Oh, interesting question. Because when I used to think I wasn't creative because I couldn't do art. I used to think that, but no, I have to give myself a little credit because I create relationships. I bring people together, bring animals together, and I'm always thinking about, what we can do. So there's creative element to that, I believe, like what each of us can do to make the world different, because we look out there and we see a lot of, like I've said, tragedies, and we want to know what is the antidote to that despair that we feel. And I believe it's action. We need to do something.
Do more.
Yeah, do a little something.
That's beautiful. Love that. So what would be your question for the next guest?
Oh, lovely. What are you going to do to make this world that little bit different and better?
I love that question. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Lorin.
It's
I
my
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. It was such a pleasure. So there you guys have it. We'll go ahead and tag you. And then, yeah, it was such a wonderful. Thank you.
It's
Appreciate
my
you.
pleasure. Thank you
All
so
right, guys.
much.
That's all for
Thank
today.
you
Thank you
all.
for watching and listening. And if you guys want to help, as she commented, go ahead and reach out. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Woo-hoo.
Thanks for listening to Siris Says. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and drop a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep chasing those dreams.